the president of my HOA, Mr. Davison, handed me the letter with a smile that never quite made it to his eyes. The envelope was crisp, white, and felt heavy with the self-important ink inside. "Just a friendly reminder," he said, his tone anything but friendly. The letter declared my quiet, one-person home business a violation of the neighborhood's residential character and threatened daily fines. What he didn't know is that he was threatening the very person who helps write and oversee the city's business codes. He had no idea he'd just declared war on the small business commissioner, and I was about to use my expertise to expose every single rule his association was breaking. Let me tell you how we got here. But before we dive into the glorious, paperwork-fueled revenge, if you enjoy stories about petty tyrants getting a full dose of karmic justice, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. You are not going to want to miss how this unfolds. That IT all started when I bought my dream home. After years in cramped downtown apartments, I finally found a place in a quiet, leafy suburb. It was perfect. A nice backyard for my dog, a 2-car garage, and most importantly, a spare room with great natural light that would serve as my home office. You see, my job is a little unusual. I'm the city's small business commissioner. I spend my days writing policy, mediating disputes, and generally fighting to make life easier for the little guy trying to make a living. My actual business was a small consultancy on the side. I help startups navigate bureaucratic red tape. A bit ironic, I know, but it was the definition of a low-impact home business. I have no employees, no customers ever come to my house, and the only business traffic is the mailman. My work consists of me, my laptop, and a whole lot of coffee. I was about as disruptive as a garden gnome. When I bought the house, I actually read the HOA's covenants, conditions, and restrictions, the CC and RS. I'm a policy nerd. I read the fine print. I saw a vaguely worded clause about no commercial activities, which is pretty standard. These are usually there to stop someone from opening a car repair shop in their garage or running a daycare out of their backyard. Surely, they didn't mean a guy quietly typing on a keyboard. So, I signed the papers, moved in, and for 6 blissful months, it was perfect. Enter our villain, Mr. Davison. He was the HOA president, a man who seemed to have retired from a long, joyless career only to fill his empty days by policing his neighbors. He'd walk the neighborhood with a clipboard and a measuring tape, the self-appointed guardian of suburban mediocrity. He left notes about trash cans being left out for an hour too long or grass being a 1/4 inch too high. He was a man who craved power, and in our little community, he was king. The day it all began was a Tuesday. I was in my office on a conference call when I heard a sharp, aggressive rap on my front door. I put the call on mute and went to see who it was. There stood Mr. Davison, clipboard in hand, flanked by another grim-looking board member. He had that smug look on his face, the one that says, "I've caught you, and I'm going to enjoy this." He didn't even say hello. He just thrust a white envelope at me. "This is an official notice of violation," he announced, as if delivering a royal decree. I took the envelope. A violation for what? I asked, genuinely confused. "For operating a commercial enterprise from your residence," he said, puffing out his chest. "It's a clear breach of Article 7, Section 3. This is a residential neighborhood, not a business park." I stood there, blinking. I wanted to laugh, but the sheer arrogance was stunning. Inside, I opened the letter. It was full of threatening legalese. Cease and desist all commercial operations immediately. Fines of $100 per day will be levied. Preserving the residential character of our community. My first thought was, is this a joke? My second thought was, oh, you have no idea who you just did this to. I looked up from the letter, kept my face a perfect mask of neutrality, and just said, "Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'll review it." He smirked, clearly taking my calm demeanor as surrender. "See that you do," he said, turning on his heel and marching off my porch. I closed the door, the letter in my hand, and a slow, determined smile spread across my face. Game on .my first step was to play by their rules. You don't pull out the big guns right away. You have to give the other party every opportunity to do the right thing. So when they don't, You're fully justified in bringing the hammer down. I drafted a polite, professional email to the full HOA board. I explained the nature of my business, a remote, single-person consultancy with zero physical impact. I pointed out there were no customers, no employees, no noise, and no signage. I was extending an olive branch. I attached no titles, no threats, just a reasonable request for an exception from a neighbor. The response came 48 hours later, and it was clear Davison wrote it. It was a single, condescending paragraph. The rules are clear and apply to everyone equally. It began. The board will not be making exceptions. The fines will commence in 72 hours. The audacity was breathtaking. Okay, olive branch officially rejected. Time for phase 2. This is where my day job became my secret weapon. I realized that while Florida state law generally allows home-based businesses, it also allows HOAs to prohibit them if it's in their governing documents. Arguing with them about my business was a dead end. So I changed tactics. If they were going to weaponize their rulebook against me, I was going to read that entire rulebook and use it against them. As a homeowner, I had the right to inspect the HOA's official records. So I spent the next evening not just rereading the bylaws, but cross-referencing their meeting minutes and financial statements with state statutes governing HOAs. And that's where I found it. It turned out their no commercial use rule was the only one they were enforcing properly. They were in violation of state laws regarding financial transparency. Their meeting notifications were improper, and their records were a complete mess. It became clear this wasn't about preserving the neighborhood. It was about sloppy management and a president on a power trip. A neighbor I was friendly with even told me that Davison had been asking her if she'd noticed any unusual activity from my house. He was snooping, trying to build a case against me for typing too loudly. This was personal. A week later, I had everything I needed. The monthly HOA board meeting was that Thursday night. I emailed the secretary and asked to be added to the agenda to discuss a violation notice. I'm sure Davison saw my name and figured I was coming to beg for mercy. I walked into that meeting room, and the air was thick with smug satisfaction. Davison sat at the head of a long table, looking like a king holding court. The other 4 board members sat beside him. And now, Davison announced, his voice dripping with condescension, we have the resident from 123 Maple Lane who wishes to appeal his violation for running an illegal business. I walked to the front, holding a slim folder. I placed it on the table and looked at each board member. Good evening. I started calmly. I am here to discuss the cease and desist letter. I briefly outlined the nature of my work again. Davison cut me off. We've heard all this. The fact is, the rules are the rules. You agreed to them. You're right, I said, holding up a hand. I did agree to follow all lawful rules and procedures. Which brings me to my actual point. Let's talk about the rules you, the board, have been breaking. The room went quiet. You see, in preparation for this meeting, I reviewed the association's records, and I've found several serious issues. Davison scoffed. And what makes you an expert? This was the moment. Well, in a way, it's my job, I said, my voice remaining perfectly level. My name is Protagonist Name, and I am this city's small business commissioner. My office is tasked with ensuring regulations are applied fairly. You see, this isn't just a neighborly dispute anymore. This is now an issue of governance. I watched the color drain from Davison's face. I slid a document out of my folder. This is a copy of the state statute that requires HOAs to provide an annual financial report to all members. My records show this hasn't been done in 2 years. This is a legal violation. I slid another paper across. This is evidence that the board approved a no-bid contract for landscape services with a company owned by Mr. Davison's brother-in-law, a clear conflict of interest that was never disclosed to homeowners. Another violation. My voice hardened slightly. And this is a formal notice that I, along with several other homeowners I've spoken to, will be filing a complaint with the state's Department of Business and Professional Regulation, calling for a formal investigation into this board's financial mismanagement and procedural violations. This isn't about my laptop anymore, Mr. Davison. It's about your failure to uphold your fiduciary duty to this community." The silence was absolute. Davison's face had gone from smug to pale to a blotchy, terrified red. The other board members were staring at him with a mix of panic and betrayal. He opened his mouth, but just a small croak came out. He finally stammered, "Now hold on. I think we've been hasty. There's no need for all this." I picked up my empty folder. Reasonable was the email I sent 2 weeks ago. This is what happens when you refuse to be reasonable. You will be sending me a formal rescission of that violation letter within 24 hours. The complaint to the state proceeds regardless. Are we clear? There was frantic nodding from the other board members. Davison just sat there, utterly defeated, his little kingdom crumbling. Faced with a homeowner revolt and a state investigation, Davison resigned in disgrace. The audit that followed, prompted by the state complaint, was a disaster for the old board. It uncovered the improper vendor contracts and messy financial records I had suspected. The remaining board members had to hire a law firm to rewrite their governing documents and clean up their procedures, a process that cost the homeowners a special assessment. My home business, of course, continues uninterrupted. The new board is far too busy ensuring they're legally compliant to worry about a guy typing on a laptop. And as a result, other residents with quiet home-based businesses, a graphic designer, an online tutor, are now safe from the whims of a petty tyrant. Sometimes, the best way to fight a bully who weaponizes one rule is to know all the other rules better than they do. So what do you think? Was this a proportional response, or did I go too far? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of bureaucratic battles and sweet, sweet justice.